Alright, to the UVs. Now normally I would like to do these UVs in Blender. Unfortunately not all my students know what Blender is, and it would be a very hard introduction just right in midstream to do it in Blender, but Blender is where I would go with this. I'll stay with Maya just for those students that are totally accustomed to Maya, and modify center pivot on all these parts so I can move them around. And if it's going to be in Maya, I'm going to have to abide by some rules. So that's going to be cylindrical and projection. So what I'm going to be doing here is just sticking all my parts upright that need to be upright. All the cylinders. These are projections. Alright, perfect. Also, if I'm going to do this in Maya, I'm going to need the checkerboard thing. So, if you're unfamiliar with a checkerboard, or how to use it, or why, you should see some of my other videos upon how to make a checkerboard. Basically, it's just this stupid little pattern, and I take on a 1024 by 1024, and I go in and fill that pattern. Okay, checkerboards. Save as, and I'll call this UVs. (24-bit) for that. Back to Maya, where I import my UVs. Another Lambert. Now these are getting to be a little bit weird for me, so what I'm going to do is start labeling these. So Lambert 2 is now going to be called chain link. Lambert 3 is going to be called barb, or barbed wire. And this one's going to be called UVs. Okay, there we go. Now if I just want to highlight all my parts in object mode, right click, assign existing material, UVs. 6 on the keyboard. Oh, and I don't think these have any UVs whatsoever, so nope, they are completely blank. Good. Alright, I'll start out with this one. This is a cylindrical map. So I'm just going to go to face, highlight all the faces, create UVs, cylindrical mapping. Now, one second though. Let's go to automatic mapping just for a sec. Wow, and automatic mapping did a nice job, but it tore everything apart. So let's use automatic mapping and then stitch it back together. Okay, all I'm doing here is hitting one of the edges and doing a move and sew. Move and sew. And move and sew. Good. You'll see that all my checkerboard is perfectly square. That's important. Let's do that with this piece. Automatic mapping. So now there's control right click to shell, W on the keyboard. I gotta move this out of the way because I can't see what shell I've got left. Ah, there we go. And then I'll move that all back onto the map. This I'm going to move over here though. And these UVs I'm going to move up. And these I'm going to use, oh, I guess that was it. Because once I get both objects on the map, you'll see that I'll need those separated in some manner. Okay, next. This is a projection problem. So I'll hop over to my front view and hit F. That's to focus in. I'll create UV's planar mapping. Should turn out like this. That is because in planar mapping I have it set to camera. Okay, once I have that, I'm just going to cut it down the middle. It doesn't look like it got everything, so I'm going to redo that. There we go. I'm sure they're there. So edge, go to double click this edge and hit cut. UV to shell. That's control right click to shell, by the way. I have two shells. Now over here I have this button. This will show me my negative shell. Each shell should be blue. So in order to turn the red shell blue, you just hit flip. Okay, now I'm just going to do a series of unfolds, starting with right here. And do the same for this shell. If I want to highlight just shells, I can hit shell and it'll move my entire shell. If I need to go back, I'll hit the move tool and it'll get out of that mode. Oops. If you do not flip your shells, they will unfold weird. They will collapse in on themselves. Okay, so those parts are done. You can see all the squares are about the same size, and that's what's important here. I'm not really concerned about stretching too much on this part. The actual texture is going to be so small that it's almost going to be incomprehensible to how small it really is. But if I want to fight that, let's say I want to take and make it just a little bit better, I can go in here and trim these. Then I can re-unfold all my parts. And the lasso tool works quite nice for this because you can get into these irregular things like this. Just like that. And you can see now the squares aren't stretched at all. So just by a few seconds of my time, I probably increased the texture size by quite a bit there. Now I'm just going to take these and shrink them down, R on the keyboard, and kind of move them off to the side right now. Okay, let's do that for this piece. Again, faces. This time I'm going to speed up just a little bit, because it's the same procedure. And of course students always ask, why don't you do them all at once? And 9 times out of 10 that, or 8 out of 10 I would say, a little lower, sometimes that works, but most cases it'll take it and do this to it. Okay, that's why. And then you have to reuniform everything, and it's a pain in the butt. So that's why I don't do it all at once. Okay, again, I know I'm going to have some stretching here. Well, no, that looks pretty good. I'm going to go with that. So I don't see any really bad stretching going on. Again, UV, just UV'd all these. W on the keyboard, shrink them up, some off to the side. Next, I'll do an automatic map on this one. And I'll start stitching it back together. Okay, so those go here. Got some negative shell issue here. You can see the red. That's an overlapping UV, by the way. So I'll just unfold that area. So right now I'm just getting rid of any seam that is there, even though, as I said, even though this part is like really tiny. Who knows what I'm going to be using these parts in the future. If I want to, I can reuse them again and again and again in different game engines. You can put them in Unity, put them in Unreal. So I'll take my time to do these because I use a lot of my projects or project files over and for demonstrations. So there's that. And now to find where these pieces go, I'm going to kind of reverse that thought process and look for common parts that stick together. Okay, like that part right there. Looks like there's going to be a series of parts that fit here. So I'll do a move and sew. Sure enough, there is. And again, I'll do the UV unfold in those areas. Now when that ever happens, that's a different story altogether. So here, this one can never fit here and be unfolded correctly. So this is where you would cut it and to shell it, move it out of the way, and find a different home for this. Okay, it can't fit there. And if I fit it over there, it's going to be bad too. There's just no good home for it. Okay, if there's no good home for it, I'm just going to make sure it's the same size and put it right next to it. Okay, let's see if there's any good homes for this. Alright, those two can go together. Those two can go together. And this part can go down there. This guy needs a home. His home is nowhere to be found. Ah, there it is. Alright, so there, effectively I've unwrapped that piece. And I think I'll just make this this way on the map, just because it'll be a little bit easier to comprehend. Alright, this video is getting long, so we'll continue the UV process in the next video.